Welcome to auditing lesson number 5. Today's lesson covers chapters 9 and 10 of your textbook. In chapter 9, we study the use of specialists. A specialist is a person who has skills or knowledge other than accounting or auditing. Examples of specialists in the works are given here. Number 1, an appraiser, someone who values inventories, real estate, art, so forth. Engineer or geologist, one who describes the physical characteristics of various assets like mineral deposits or specialized machinery, etc. Actuary, someone who calculates employee pension liabilities, the value of insurance policies and so forth. An actuary does statistical work on mortality studies of groups of people. The need for specialists is determined in the planning stage of the audit. The auditor next evaluates the specialist qualifications by considering certifications, licenses, reputation, and experience. The specialist need not be unrelated to the client unless there is a risk that their objectivity might be impaired by the relationship. Otherwise, the specialist findings, the specialist need not, the risk can be offset by using additional procedures or by engaging a different specialist. However, normally it's not necessary. Specialist, client, and auditor should understand the nature and the use of the specialist's findings. The auditor need not verify the specialist's findings unless they are deemed unreasonable. Otherwise, the specialist's findings are considered evidence in themselves. If the specialist's findings do not conform with the financial records, the auditor may issue a qualified or even an adverse report. The auditor should obtain the specialist's permission to use this report, even though he or she is not responsible for the opinion. Only the auditor is. An unqualified report need not refer to the specialist's work at all. This chapter concludes with questions to answers, or answers to questions rather, on page 86, one page. We turn now to chapter 10 to an explanation of the auditor's consideration of the entity's ability to continue as a going concern. The auditor is responsible to evaluate whether substantial doubt exists about the client's ability to continue operation for a reasonable period of time, up to 1 year from the publication of the financial statements. The auditors are not expected to predict future events and conditions. The mere fact that a client ceases to exist after an audit does not in itself indicate inadequate auditor performance. Moreover, an auditor's report should not be viewed as providing assurance that the entity will continue as a going concern. A decision-making flowchart is presented here on page 87 to help identify conditions and events that indicate substantial doubt and how to indicate this in the audit report itself. It is not necessary to design procedures to test the going concern issue because a number of existing procedures already are sufficient to identify such concerns. The text offers 5 examples. Number 1, performing analytical tests may identify ratios and patterns that indicate financial difficulties. Number 2, review of debt and loan agreements will provide insight into possible problems. Number 3, confirmation letters from lenders and suppliers will indicate financial support or lack thereof. Number 4, a review of subsequent events near the end of fieldwork may uncover problems. And number 5, inquiries with lawyers and minutes of directors' meetings will show support or reveal existing problems. The text also provides 7 conditions that may indicate that substantial doubt about the going concern exists. Number 1, working capital deficiencies, negative cash flows, and adverse ratios are all indicators. Number 2, a loan default or defaults. Number 3, non-compliance with capital requirements or denial of trade credit, all negative signs. Number 4, legal proceedings. Number 5, disposal of substantial assets, possible indication that the firm is going out of business. Number 6, dividends in arrears. And number 7, debt restructuring. If doubts exist, the auditor should review management's plans to mitigate these conditions. These may include borrowing money, increasing equity, selling assets, and reducing or postponing expenditures. When doubt exists, disclosure should include the conditions that give rise to the doubt, possible effects of such conditions, and management's mitigation plans. The audit report should include an explanatory paragraph following the opinion paragraph if there is some serious doubt. If the doubts are beyond substantial, a disclaimer may be issued as well. Inadequate disclosure creates a departure from generally accepted procedures, and there may result in adverse opinions. If a substantial doubt is removed, the auditor should consider the need for disclosure even with an unqualified opinion. So we would disclose that there was an adverse condition, it was mitigated, and that this was of some interest to potential readers of the financial reports. Documentation should cover conditions leading to doubts, elements of plans to overcome doubts, procedures and evidence used to evaluate such plans, and the auditor's opinion and conclusion as to whether doubt continues to exist. 3 pages of answers to questions follow Chapter 10, and I would advise you to take a close look at those. This concludes Lesson 5. We have 3 to go. Persevere. Now is the time to buckle down and continue the good work. I'm very pleased to see everyone's progressing nicely, and we hope that you all have favorable outcomes.